Doom Eternal. Finally, we're all here, and I have my hands on Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal, follow-up to the fantastic 2016 entry, a game I loved so much and was absolutely blown away by. If you've never played the 2016 installment of Doom, then you have no idea how much of a relief it was that it was so goddamn good. After Bethesda announced that there would be 0 review codes going out early, people were wise to be very cautious. This is a practice I stand against, withholding review copies, keeping everyone in the dark until launch day. You can sometimes gauge how a game is going to do depending on when review codes go out to everybody. It sort of shows off this level of confidence and gets you thinking, well, hey, it might be a pretty good game. And luckily, to most of the community's surprise, it actually was great. And sure, there were some pacing issues, but regardless, it was pretty damn good. Doom Eternal steps onto the scene to do just one thing. It seeks to somehow top something that can't be topped, or so we thought for all these years. The question is, does Doom Eternal truly successfully top its prior installment? Well, where do I begin? Doom Eternal is 2 different things. 1, it's the same game as before, and 2, it's different. I'm not talking about id Software completely changing the style the game is played as, like from first-person shooter to open world or anything like that. No, it's still very much a first-person shooter, but it's how the gears move that change it. Doom Eternal sets out to be a thinking man's shooter. You no longer are able to run around in circles or wielding the super shotgun demolishing anything in your path. No, you have to think about what your next action will be. If you choose to circle the map, the AI will try to cut you off and meet you halfway. If you just try to spam the super shotgun, you'll risk the chance of being cornered fast. Glory kills are no longer a one-stop pickup. You have to find your ammo and your armor in 2 separate ways now. You glory kill for health, use your mounted flamethrower dubbed the Flame Belch for armor, and the infamous chainsaw for ammo. None of what I just said is optional. You have to learn this new gameplay loop or you will not get far at all. I'm sure that turns some people off because they want to play Doom their way. They don't want to be bogged down by the developer with the only guaranteed option for survival, and that's fine, but I'll tell you right now, if you're afraid or dislike change, Doom Eternal is not for you. Is the action still there? Well, absolutely. Even bigger and better than before. But the gameplay loop is such a stark contrast from Doom 2016 that some people will just refuse to adapt. Personally, I love the new playstyle, but I did run into an issue where no lesser demons were around and I was stuck fighting a Mancubus without any ammo. I just lobbed grenades at it until I was prompted with a glory kill. Regardless, it makes every single weapon in your inventory viable for specific situations. As I continued my playthrough, I almost always would switch to a specific weapon whenever I would see a specific enemy. Throughout your playthrough, you will have at least used every single weapon about 10 times each. And that's great because I don't know about you, but I barely switched away from the super shotgun in Doom 2016. I would occasionally pull out heavier weapons, but only in emergencies. But in Eternal, it's critical that you learn what weapon is appropriate for what situation. Having to learn certain weapon matchups, chainsawing for ammo, igniting enemies for armor all sounds pretty tough to manage, right? Well, it can be, but one thing is for certain, this game in general is tough. I am not kidding when I say Doom Eternal is fucking hard. Do not go into this game thinking you'll be smearing demons all over the wall. The demons in this game are absolutely out to kill you. Doom 2016 did an amazing job of making you feel like an unstoppable killing machine. Doom Eternal does the same, except it demands you to put your money where your mouth is. I don't think my blood has pumped harder at anything when compared to these arenas. Each fight in Doom Eternal is off the wall insane. Demons are flying at you left and right and you're constantly on the move switching weapons, planning steps ahead of the enemy to get the advantage. Coming out of these fights alive makes you feel 10 times more unstoppable. I can't get enough of it. There's an issue though, and it's not with the arena combat itself, it's what takes place in between fights. Platforming. After so many fights, you'll sometimes want to break, and that's fine, but it seems id decided to help you out by keeping you busy in between fights. They do this by adding platforming to Doom Eternal. The platforming is... it works, I guess. I mean, it's not super broken or anything, it's just kind of out of place. It's somewhat jarring to be melting Hell Knights and then watching the Doomslayer's meaty arms dig into a wall and jump from wall to wall like some kind of monkey. That at least isn't horrible to deal with. Frankly, of all the different types, jumping around from point A to point B works just fine. Is it fun? Does it add anything to amplify the game? Not really. It's just an added feature that I guess depends on you if you'll enjoy it. What is awful in terms of platforming is all of the irradiated areas. Fuck these sections. You have to get a hazmat suit that gets shredded while standing in toxic water. So when you have to run to grab these little pickups that restore your suit's health, why? These sections of the game are terrible padding, and I wouldn't be upset in the slightest if they ended up being removed for whatever reason. They don't happen too often, thank God, but when they pop up, I instantly just groan and get irritated knowing that I have to do this to continue. And don't get me started on the purple goop on the ground either. This goop does nothing to your health, but it slows you down and prevents you from dashing or even reaching solid ground sometimes. I have to mash the jump button near a surface just to get out of it. They even have this one part where they throw a Hell Knight in front of you in the goop.
Uh-oh. Stinky poop. Poopies, buddy, poopies. La, 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 la.
Yeah, cool. Let me just eat this guy's punches while I try to shoot him faster than he can hit me. Thank you. Some of these unneeded sections of platforming really made me miss the 2016 level structure at first, but I was able to look past all of that. Despite the annoyances, the level design in Doom Eternal is top-notch. id is operating at the top of their game. The levels are so expertly crafted. The pacing and switching between levels is damn near flawless, not to mention how beautiful they look. Oh my god, just look at this. Fighting through the arenas id puts you in is an experience you can find nowhere else, guaranteed. In 2016, Mick Gordon, Doom's composer, unleashed a heavy and intense soundtrack to go with your demon killing. It, at the time, was one of the best soundtracks to a video game in my opinion. Just like Doom 2016, you couldn't imagine it getting any better, but somehow Mick Gordon took the old OST and turned it up by 11. Doom Eternal's soundtrack is Mick Gordon at his angriest. My favorite track, Super Gornest, is something I never thought I would hear with a video game soundtrack. Each song fits so well with the combat and absolutely enhances your slaughtering experience. Another thing that wasn't so apparent before was the story. Sure, I mean, you had Olivia Pierce, and she was bad. You had Samuel Hayden feeding you info throughout. The story was there, it just took a huge backseat to everything else. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when you play Doom, you're more than likely only there to do one thing synonymous with Doom: killing as many demons as possible. This is still true this time around, however the story in Eternal is much more apparent. It's sprinkled about in a much thicker coating, and if you so choose to explore it deeper, the game provides you with lore dumps to pick up or obtain via progression. It's nothing special, but it's at the very least interesting. And I won't spoil anything related to said story in case you were interested, but let me just say this. If you are interested in the story and lore and decide to go looking for it, you might find yourself pleasantly surprised. It seems id is as much storytellers as they are demon slayers. I may have given some negatives here and there with Doom Eternal, but make no mistake, Doom Eternal is one of the best games I've played this year. It's absolutely, at this very moment in time, my game of the year for 2020. It isn't perfect and can be frustrating, like the Marauder, for example, who I loved in the beginning due to his intro, and I assumed it was a one-time thing related to the story, but no, there are actually several of them. The concept is great, don't get me wrong, an enemy able to get in your face is a nice change of pace. The issue with the Marauder is the inconsistency with him. You're told that the only way to damage him is to shoot him once his eyes turn green, meaning he's about to strike. That's when he's vulnerable. If you get too close, he'll use a shotgun. If you stand too far away, he'll use some other projectile. He has a Hellhound that's a headache to deal with, and it basically becomes a game of cat and mouse with him. If he shows up in the middle of combat, he almost acts like a big wall that you have to break down in order to resume. You have to stop focusing on enemies and instead go right for him before anything else. He's just an all-around, I guess, annoying enemy to deal with. Not bad, he's just annoying. And I can understand that he's put in front of you to mix up your ideal playstyle, to think outside the box. You shoot his shield, you're punished. You get too greedy and you're punished. But if you play with the directions given, you'll succeed. Most of the time, yes you will, but in a couple of instances, for some reason, I would wait for the green flash and he would just continue to fall through with his attacks. I'm assuming this was just him being buggy, but still, it kind of sucks. But like I said, despite its shortcomings, which are few and far between, Doom Eternal is damn near excellent. If you're up for the challenge, I can guarantee you are going to get your money's worth, hands down. Go out and buy this game. I loved it, I know you will too. Nothing comes close in terms of adrenaline pumping action. Nothing.